Preparing. So hello, good morning. How nice it is to see you with us today. As you see, my lovely friend over here, Lynne Franklin, is back. So welcome back, Lynne.
Glad to be here. Always up for an interesting conversation, and when it's with you, it's even better.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm back to you. I'm just doing a little checkup over here, so don't y'all mind me for a quick second. I love the fact that technology allows us to be together. So you're in Chicago, and I'm here in Kansas City, and yet it's almost like we're with each other. It's about as close to being having a cup of coffee together in the morning as we can get, right?
Yes. I don't drink coffee, but I drink lots of water.
And you know, that is so good. Oh, I know this has nothing to do with our talk today, but I read a little thing yesterday and it said, so I'm gonna show everybody, and Lynne, you should do this because you drink so much water. This will probably really be great for you. So Dr. Gundry, who is somebody I watch, and he puts out all these health videos and stuff. So he said, let's see, can y'all see me? You take the top of the skin of your hand with your dominant hand and you pull your skin up and hold it for 3 seconds and then let go and then count how long it takes to recoil. So did yours go right back? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if it doesn't, so mine takes, I hate to say, when I undo it, it takes about 2 seconds. And he says, you know, that means that I'm dehydrated. I don't have enough water. So when it bounces back right away, it means you have, you know, you're hydrated well. But if it takes 3, 4, 5 seconds, you're probably in trouble. Go drink some water.
I'll drink to that.
Oh, like I said, that had to, but that's kind of the fun of a live show, right? We can do whatever we want when we want. So I love that.
So another good piece of information.
Huh?
Another good piece of information.
There we go. There we go. We can never have too many of those, right? So Lynne and I have been talking. Y'all who've been around know that we've talked about this before, but we've been together talking, and we've been, I don't know, friends and accountability partners, whatever you want to call us, for 7, 8 years, something like that. We don't know. I'll have to go back sometime and figure that exactly.
I think it's like 10.
Really? 10? Oh, yeah. I love that even more. So we were talking the other day, and one of the things that we started talking about, and then we was in general how we do things in patterns. And you know, I have a, and we all have them. So if you think you don't, you are wrong. You just haven't thought about it. I wash the clothes, you know, do laundry in a certain pattern. Unless something gets in the way, it's always going to be on Saturday morning because I don't like, my mother washes every other day. She loves to wash. She's one person. She doesn't even have that many clothes. So I just don't like to mess with it. Saturday morning, I've allocated for it. So I do it. And I always wash the colored clothes first because that's my biggest load. Now I know this sounds like, Delinda, what are you talking about? But that's just one example. How you clean your house has a pattern. You know, what do you do? Do you clean it all in one day, or do you do vacuuming on one day and dusting on another, or whatever? I used to do that, but I don't do that now because that means I'm cleaning every day and I don't really like cleaning my house. But there are other things that you really might not think about. And that's where Lynne and I were talking the other day, that when you go through trauma, when you have life happen, you know, when you say that's life, when you have those life things, you also have a process or a pattern of how you deal with that. And that's where Lynne was talking about that. So Lynne, jump on in here and talk a little bit about that, because I bet most people don't think there is a process for that.
Yeah, and it's true, because part of it is when you, because I'm a neuroscience nerd, so I study how the brain works and I try to make it, you know, create tips and tricks that people could use easily and to make their lives better. And one thing I know from a neuroscience perspective is that when you go through trauma or crisis or upset, what ends up happening is that you lose 2/3 of your brain. And the term for this is, it's fun to say, hard to be in, amygdala hijack. So the amygdala is part of your brain that is always trying to keep you safe. And when it perceives an actual physical or verbal threat, what it does is it shuts down your thinking brain so you can't plan and you can't forecast. It shuts down your emotional brain So you can't make decisions. And all that is left is your survival brain. So you have, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, which is the I will do whatever you tell me to do. And and so when you're in a crisis, that's the first thing that hits you, no matter who you are. And then, of course, it becomes how long do you stay in that mode where you can't make decisions and you can't plan. So the idea ultimately from a neuroscience standpoint is to get yourself beyond that so that you can be an advocate for yourself. And and Delinda and I were talking about this, and and there is, by the way, in case you want to do more research on this, a fellow by the name of Dr. Mark Goulston, who's created his own process for how do you get your brain back when you've lost your mind. And he calls it excuse my language, it's the OF to OK process, which I've changed to oh crap for more conversational purposes. So you can look up Goulston, the OF to OK process, if you really want to dig into this. But for me, I started paying attention to when bad stuff happens, what do I do with this? And I know that amygdala hijack is the first place you go. And you just feel like you're screwed. And so for me, what I've turned it into is, I call it the catastrophize process. So I get bad news or something bad happens, and my brain automatically goes to the worst possible thing that could be going on here. So, for example, I got some bad health news, and I had a doctor tell me there is no treatment, there is no cure, and I said to her, "Well, I need some hope," and she said, "I can't give that to you." And so I went home that night and thought about it. It happens to be kidney issues. So I went home that night and thought, I'm just exhausted by all the other things that have been going on in my life. And now this bad news. How hard do I want to work to stay alive? So that was me catastrophizing. It's okay, this is a terminal issue. How hard do I want, what is it I'm willing to do in order to stay alive? And I realized, fortunately in that moment, that I was in no condition to make any kind of decision, because when you're in amygdala hijack, you really can't decide. And any decision you make is going to be flawed. So for me, it's the catastrophize. What's the worst possible thing that can happen? That's my first phase in dealing with bad news. Then second for me is I call strategize. So now that I have this information, now that I know what is, what am I going to do to deal with it? And for me, with this diagnosis, it became, I need to learn more about my options. So I started investigating things like dialysis. Should I ever get to the point where I need that? And and diet and other things. What are the options that are available to me? Because fortunately for me, I don't have any symptoms of any disease. And so it's pretty darn easy to pretend that nothing's going on, but that could be harmful ultimately. So what are the things I need to do to take care of myself in order to stay where I am, to stay stable? So that's the strategize part. And Western medicine, for example, has diet. So what kinds of food am I eating? What are things that are hard for the kidney to digest? And well, let's stay away from that. So the years I had of eating salads with leafy greens are hard on the kidneys. I don't eat salads anymore. So that became one of the strategies because of the research I was doing. And then the third phase that I go through is normalize. This is what's happening. This is the diagnosis. This is what I'm doing about it. I don't want to spend every waking moment thinking about the fact that I have a health condition. So I normalize it. Okay, this is what's going on. This is what I need to be doing about it. And then let it become normal for me. And another interesting bit of the neuroscience is that they've done studies on people who have had wonderful things happen, like winning the lottery, and terrible things happen, like health issues. And what they've discovered over time is that people are at a certain level of happiness when this positive or negative news happens. And their happiness, if you're winning the lottery, your happiness spikes up. If you're having health problems, your happiness spikes down. But over time, you go back to the same level of happiness that you had before. So even if you win the lottery, you are not sustainably happier than you ever were before. Even when you have a bad diagnosis, you're not sustainably unhappy. You go back to where you are. So the term for that is regression to the mean. If this is the benchmark for you, you go back there. And that for me is what normalizing does. It takes me back to where I am. So I'm not sitting here fretting about the future and worrying about things, which takes away the time I have to enjoy today. So that's kind of my process when bad news happens. And I know, Delinda, you've got one too.
I do. I haven't labeled them but
Well,
I
because
like
I'm
this
not
idea.
this kind of stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So my first thing is, whatever that happens, is first of all, I pray and it's like, oh God, what am I going to do here? And it's not like a cussing, oh God, this is like really, oh Lord, I don't know what's happening here. I'm going to turn it over to you because I have no answer. Now, but you're saying it's like my brain now has been hijacked. So it's hijacked too. So I'm giving it to God and I'm going to let him work it out. And then I actually release it from my conscious mind, kind of when you were talking about maybe I'm not as far
Normalizing.
down as normal. But so I release it and then I have a pity party. I always give myself a couple of days. And the important thing to the pity party is you have to put a time frame on it. You can't go into pity party and still be there 6 months or a year from now. Now, I know people truly who are still living in their pity party after a couple of years. They've never gotten out of that, And so give yourself, mine normally is a couple of days. I'm gonna say, and then on whatever day, it's like, then I go to the strategize. Like I said, I hadn't really named it, but that is what I do. Okay, so where am I? What do I need to take care of? What information do I need to actually make a decision? But even just to see what my options are. And that's really an important place. And I think probably from that point too. And then I just live. And it's like, okay, Lord, I've given this to you. You've shown me the things here. Now I'm just going to take one step at a time, every day, day by day. And then whatever, it just works out. And how, depending on what what it is you're dealing with, it could be financial crisis, could be health crisis, like in your case, could be, and some things you can't put on the shelf for 3 days. There are those things that have to have an immediate response. But I think even when those happen, Lynn, and you would know better than I from that standpoint, because I think in the last few years, you've dealt with just about every one of those. I'm so, it's like, I'm so sorry to say, but I've watched you go through this. And there are just certain things you handle them. And then you always have to revert back to now what am I going to do? What's next? That strategize and normalize. And I think that the normalize, I love how you say that, because I think that is what we do, so if you've had your pity party like me, then you started strategize. Now, how do I just live day by day? Because I'm not going to live in that negative frame of mind. I just refuse to do that, because that's no life. I mean, then it's like you're losing what days you have. So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you set a timeline on the pity party, because a lot of instances when I'm in pity party, I'm in the why me? Why is this happening to me? This is so unfair. And if I were a 2-year-old, I'd stick out my lower lip. And there usually is not an answer to why. Most of the time, when it's catastrophe, you didn't cause it, and you're a lot of times you're affected by health issues in my family. And frankly, there was nothing I did that caused my kidney stuff. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. I don't have a lot of the other things that are associated with this, because I've been living a healthy lifestyle. But you're right. It's this negative energy that you have in yourself, which which I turn into, for me. And geez, this is unfair. And uh, but you hang on to that stuff, and it just eats you alive.
It does.
So your strategy for, yeah, I have this negative energy. I can't pretend it's not there. Because if I do, then it'll bubble up someplace else, and usually at a higher velocity than that situation, really merits.
Mhm.
And so, in order to be able to, you have to sort through it. It's funny because I know people who have an animal, who have a dog, and the dog dies. And for me, when my dog passed 2 years ago, I decided I'm not going to rush out and get another dog. I need to grieve this dog whom I love, and and go through that process. There are other people for whom grief is just feels impossible to live with. And so the first thing they do is rush out and get another dog to replace the one that they just lost. And hey, if that works for them, that's great. All I
Mhm.
know is it doesn't work for me. And so I need to take the time to process stuff so that it doesn't come back and bite me in the butt later.
Right, right. And I think there is a tendency to, sometimes you want to ignore it, which in most cases doesn't help anything because it's still there, or stuff it and just stuff it in and not feel the feelings, which again is like eating you up from the outside, or just staying stuck in it. Or you could be beating yourself up because you don't like how you're handling. It's like all those are negative reactions that aren't going to get you out of that place and aren't going to help you move forward in your life. So, and I think a big part of that too, Lynn, you could expound on that if you think, is that I think um, we expect so much out of ourselves. We don't, well, I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't, be so upset about that. But we tend to, all of those are negative things that we just, it's easy to continue in that negativity instead of releasing it, owning up to it, name it, look at what it is.
Yeah, and there is a, a line in psychology, name it to tame it when it comes to emotions. It's the
Ah,
what am I feeling? Because a lot of times, if you're angry with someone, or if you're sad, or if there's something else going on, if you're hurt, you can sit there and spend a lot of time trying to pretend that that's not happening. And the energy and the time that that eats up, that, as you said, gets you nothing except
nothing.
it keeps you stuck. Then yeah, it's the what am I feeling right now? And and it's true. When I sat and thought about after the doctor gave me the diagnosis, it was I'm I'm mad because I've spent so many years trying to be healthy, and and helping other members of my family pass away. And I thought this was going to be my time now where I could focus on me. I'm mad. I'm frightened because I don't know what the progression of this disease is going to look like. And I don't want to lose my capabilities. So mad, sad, and afraid. All of these things. So it becomes the you know being able to say these are the feelings that I have, helps me clear some of that stuff out rather than just running away from it. Geez, if running away worked, I would be a sprinter. But for me, it doesn't work. Once again, you know who you are, you know the things that work for you. But part of it is, and what we're calling out today are the things that work for us, and which we've discovered over time. And there is no one path to take,
Right.
except the one question I continually ask myself is, what would I do if this were the best version of me? Or what's the and if that's too big a question, then it's the what's the next right thing for me to do? If I need to chunk it down and get really granular, because otherwise it's sure easy to stay stuck in amygdala hijack where I'm where I'm not making any decisions and I'm out of touch with my emotions and I can't see what the future is. And it's like being in limbo, and you can only be there for a certain amount of time before it starts to negatively affect you.
Yeah, and I really hate limbo. That is like one of my worst ones. I just, you know, uh, let me move, even if it's the teeniest amount. I don't like limbo. So I kind of do everything I can to not be in limbo because it's a helpless feeling. Limbo is like, well, I have no control. What am I going to do with my life, or what am I going to do with this situation? Whereas, just that little bit of movement. What's the next? Can I make a phone call? Whether it's research you need, and a lot of times that is it. And for a lot of people, I am not a major research person. I can do it, and I have done it. And sometimes you just have to do it. It's part of life. That's not my favorite thing to do. I think it might be in your favorite things because you love research. I mean, the fact that you study neuroscience would definitely show that you do. But that's not my favorite. But sometimes it takes doing even the things we don't like to move ourselves forward a little bit. So if it takes a little research to find out, how can I've been working on my blood sugar thing. I've talked about that before. And, just finding, what other options are there? There's a med they want me to take, and unless I am going down on my deathbed thing, unless it's absolutely necessary, I'm not. So I'm looking at all the other things. Berberine turns out to be a great supplement for the A1C and the blood sugar realm. So sometimes that we do have to do the things we don't want to do. Maybe it's making phone calls, right? And I know in this process, you've had to get on the phone and be making phone calls a lot of the times. So be willing to do that so that you can get out of limbo. That's my whole point. I'll do anything that I need to do to get out of limbo.
Well, and it's funny because a couple of conversations ago, we were talking about our word for the year, and mine is receive. And, and just being open to asking for help from other people. I let folks know what it is I'm doing, and the number of people who have stepped up and said, let me go with you to that doctor's appointment. Let me help you learn how to cook this food that you've never had to cook before because you just had salads every lunch, and now you can't do that. Or even when you were talking about research, when I got the diagnosis, part of me wanted to go online and figure out, all right, what do I need to know? And then I thought, there's so much negative stuff out there on the internet. If I do this, I'm going to go down a black hole and I will never come out. And so I asked a friend of mine who is great in research. I asked her, would you take a look at some of these things so I don't get stuck there? Because I knew that she was a good researcher, and this was not happening to her. And so there wouldn't be some of the pitfalls for her that there would be for me. And the information that she came back with to help me, sometimes, as you said, you just pick up the phone and you ask for help, or you ask God for help. I don't know what to do. Show me the way. And because we as capable women have a tendency to believe that we must do everything. If we don't do it, it's not going to happen. And sometimes it's the asking for help that is truly freeing. And at the same time, not only do you get the help that you ask for, but you get to feel the love that other people have for you and the support that they want to give you. And I have literally in my dining room cards and books and all kinds of things that people have sent me. And I call it my altar of hope. So I have all of these things there. And when I'm feeling particularly hopeless or confused, I'll go out there and I will take a look at all of these physical signs that people care for me. And it gets me through some really tough spots.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I think it is, we do need to look at those people around us. God's put those people in your life for a reason. And I'm one of those that doesn't want to lose you, so do whatever you have to do. Like we're going to be here for you, and you need to find, talking to the audience out there, who is it in your life that you know loves you and wants to support you. And here's the thing: it becomes a blessing for them. So don't deny them the blessing of helping you. It doesn't. I think it takes more strength to reach out and ask for help or let people know what's going on than to just hold it all in yourself. And God gave us people for a reason. Our Father is there, and when you've turned it over to him, he will bring the people in your path. Whether it could be you already have a sphere of influence, it could be the doctors that you come across. Lynn, I have to say, I was really mad when your doctor said that to you. And it's like, okay, get rid of that, doctor. I would not want anybody talking to me who was like, da, 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 no hope, give you nothing. I mean, come on, fire that doctor.
Well, and it's funny because this doctor happens to be from Ukraine, and I think it's a cultural thing that she's very straightforward. She's this is what happens. This is what this is what goes on. And I thought, okay, so now I know when I need hope, I don't go to her.
No,
I have other other doctors, other friends, other supporters whom, when I feel the need, when I'm feeling hopeless or when I'm feeling confused, I don't call her. I call other people for whom they have that gift. And you're right, God's put them in my path for that reason. And the 10,000-foot view is that over the last 5 years, I've helped everybody in my family die, plus a dog. And so the meaning that I have made of this, of my situation for me, is that, okay, I was there to help them. And it was an honor. It was not always a privilege or fun to do that for them. But now I get to see all of the people who want to be of support to me and feel really lucky about it. So if this had to happen to me, it's the recognize you were there for your family, recognize all of the friends who have become my family, who are there to support me through this. So, and that's another thing about trauma and crisis. We have a feeling that we're in this by ourselves. And when you get to look around and see the circles of support that you have, people that you've been happy to support in their difficult times, and now it's not a quid pro quo kind of thing. It's just the relationships that you have and people who want to step up for you. And you're right. You and other people have said, the world's a better place because you're in it, Lynn. And, makes my heart feel full every time I hear it. And it's when I can't do things for myself, when I can't fill up my cup for myself, there are other people out there who are willing to give me a pour. And that's what helps us all get through this stuff. We don't have to battle crisis alone. We have our process for doing it. But when we're able to invite other people in to be with us, it becomes a real gift.
It really is. And I've been lucky enough to meet a number of your friends when I went to Chicago. So it's really, and who knew? I mean, who knew when I went for your book party that I would be even happier that I know who you were surrounded by, the friends that you have. And I think that's important for all of you out there, is to really look at that and nourish those relationships, those people that are close to you, because we all need each other. God put us in the world together. He didn't, and it was never the plan for us to be by ourselves. And so really appreciate them. Let them know along the way how much you appreciate them. And I think you just will find that your life opens up even richer from that. My roommate from college just reached out to me 2 days ago that her husband has cancer and is getting ready to go through that. And I love the fact that she knew, even though I haven't actually talked with her in over a year, we do, we touch base every so often, but that she knew she could count on me to be praying for her. And if there's anything I could do for her, know that I would. And as for you, so God puts those people in our lives for a reason. So really appreciate them and reach out to them when you need to, or that the time may come where you will need to they will need you to reach out to them. So,
You know, I have to laugh because Delinda knows this. There is on my chair a crocheted prayer shawl that a friend of mine had her church circle make for me and had her pastor bless. And I thought, I sit in my office chair for hours a day. And now when I sit here, I can feel the blessings of a group of people who have no idea who I am, but they're wishing me well.
and just, yeah, the prayers that they prayed while they were making it. I mean, it's just that's a wonderful thing. And it's right there. Like, I love that. So, well, we are at the end of our time. It always goes so fast. Any last words, any last thought you want to share with our audience?
I can have I look for patterns because I'm a neuroscience nerd. And so I came up with the catastrophize, strategize, normalize thing because that was helpful for me. If you have a process that you follow when things get difficult, sometimes it helps to know what that process is. So you don't feel like you're stuck and you're not making any progress at all. Yeah, and at the same time, the most important thing to remember is you are not alone. Even when it feels that way, even in the depths of, I don't know what to do, why is this happening to me? There are people who care about you and who would be honored to know what's going on with you and want to support you. So yeah, have your pity party. You need to get rid of that negative energy. And if you're having trouble getting out of your pity party, call somebody.
Yeah.
Reach out. Pray. Ask for guidance. You aren't alone. Any crisis you're in, you are never totally alone, even though it may feel that way. But feelings are not facts. So reach out when you're in these situations. Ask for help because there will always be somebody there who will be honored to help you.
I love that. And it's so true. And my friends, just remember that, I say this most every week. Sometimes I forget, but I love the fact that we have choices. You don't, sometimes we feel, especially in those times, that we have no control. And the truth is, you do. You control your thoughts, you control your choices. And even if you choose to not think about it for a few days, have the pity party, that is a choice. It is a choice to pick the ball back up and do what you need to do. So life's not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. So choose to be aware of how you process things, and maybe that'll help you when you face the next difficulty. So love you guys. Thank you for being with us. God bless, and we will see you next week. Everybody, bye now.